Hello, and welcome to a More Perfect podcast. On this episode, we have our first guest, Andrew, and he's going to be talking with us about a variety of topics, ranging from immigration to the recent Representative Cummings scandal. He totally got the grill. He's grilled like those burgers you get at Sonny's, and the pork that you get at Sonny's. That's him right now. Okay. And we got a safe third country agreement with Guatemala. So, Andrew, can you tell us something about what happened with Representative Cummings over this past weekend or Monday, I think?
Oh, this man's whole career is gone now. Turned into a real meme, if I say so myself.
How was it? How was it destroyed?
I mean, it's not literally. He'll probably still be a career politician like they always are.
Probably. I mean, he's been serving his district for decades, but
yeah. I just mean I don't think it'd be taken seriously a lot anymore by a lot of people. Because he just kind of he started losing the argument, so he busted out that age-old device, the race card.
The race card.
Not to be confused with the race car, like NASCAR. The one true race.
The one true race. Yes. He was attacked over the weekend. Not like literally with like guns, like that one representative was at the baseball game a year
when the
or
Bernie
so
Sanders supporter was walked up to the baseball field he was on, just having a nice recreational fun time, and then he got shot.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I can't think of that guy's name, but
it's pretty bad. Yeah, I can't really think of it.
Luckily, he survived.
But he totally survived, and I think he's serving in Congress.
He is.
Yeah.
At least if I remember correctly.
Yeah. He got attacked via tweet.
And the worst kind of attack.
The worst kind of attack. And not just any tweet, but by Donald Trump's Twitter. Which means 1 million people are going to see it in the first second. And people's jobs are paid. And people's careers are formed on this Twitter feed. Okay, this is the future. Okay, we are living in 2019, where one man's Twitter feed can affect the world. So he got attacked on Twitter, and Trump called his district a rat-infested district.
And also, quote, the worst in the entire U.S.
Yeah, like if you look at the images, people, and if you look at the video footage too, like it's just terrible, isn't it?
It's pretty bad. I personally think the only inaccuracy is it's the worst. I think honestly Detroit might be the worst actual thing in the entire U.S.
Yeah.
Whoever represents that district should be disappointed in themselves. But
I can tell you who.
Yeah.
It's Democrats.
Well, yes, but
yeah, and Democrats also are in Chicago and California's, like the deep blue sea.
Unless you go north, and then they're like, "What do you mean? We're arguably more red than most other states."
Yeah, exactly.
I feel bad for those poor people. Anyway.
Yeah, bad. But like if you notice a trend here, let's just take San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
How you know how bad they are right now.
Yeah, people literally having a funnel dump up in the street, and then heroin needles literally being passed out because they find it easier to just let them safely have their addiction than try to help them break the addiction.
Exactly. Yeah, they're being handed out. They're basically funding drug addictions. It cost over like $100,000, and that's like the lowest to rent an apartment in San Francisco. It's trash.
Mm-hmm.
But San Francisco, Chicago, also run by Democrats. Gun violence out the window. Okay.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And then let's go to Representative Cummings district. So that's Baltimore, city of Baltimore, and his district covered like children are sleeping in their own poop. It's really bad.
It's bad.
It would be one thing if it wasn't the United States, which, not saying it's not bad, but the South American countries They just don't have the same standards of living as we do, and it's bad anywhere you look at it because there are people too. But this is the United States, us having the ability to fix this, having the funding, the resources. I mean, we're the greatest nation in the history of the world.
Well, yeah, and to go back to what you said about South America too, what's sad is even though they have a general lower standard of living, in most places they don't have that kind of problem anyway. Their problem is strictly like drug related and cartel related. But then you come to places like Baltimore and San Francisco and even Detroit, for example, where people are homelessness is rampant. You know, there's people who are literally given drugs by the government.
Yeah.
There are people sleeping in poop, literally doing it on the street. You know, these are things that are, honestly, I would claim even worse than most third world countries.
Yeah. Yeah, even, I mean, the standards of hygiene, we could have, this is even more of a critical issue for everyone listening to us, is that the hygiene, I watched a show recently called The Hot Zone, and it told the tale of the Ebola outbreak.
Oh yeah, dramatization of the Ebola outbreak. Yeah,
we had an Ebola outbreak here, either in the 80s or 90s, and the fact that I can even not know the specific date shows that, you know, they were pretty successful. They stopped Ebola, and it's gotten 97%.
They found the CEO of Ebola.
Yeah, so the CEO of Ebola, and they were like, "Dog, stop."
And he was like, "Okay."
Exactly. Well, so they stopped Ebola, and it was spawned in this African nation. I don't remember, but it was some African nations are pretty great, but others are pretty bad.
I mean, honestly, even to an extent, some of the countries that are really good in Africa all have their own problems from different things. You know, I mean, everywhere has their own issues. I'm not gonna sit here and claim that we don't even, but it's really bad in a lot of places.
Yeah. Well,
kind of sad.
Well, this place, and the fact that I can make this comparison is even sadder. This place in Africa, it's a very poor country, don't know which country, but it originated from that country. The country has a deep mistrust in doctors, and the government spends money on other things other than hygiene, so their hygiene's really, really bad.
Oh yeah, and they claim Ebola is like a cross of multiple diseases that slowly over time molded themselves into Ebola because of how bad their hygiene was, and it spread so quickly that it started rapidly evolving until it hit what we now know as Ebola.
And you take these hygienes, and then if we don't have hygiene, I don't think germs discriminate against country borders. So what I'm trying to say here is we have the chance that some horrible new disease will culminate itself among the feces, the drugs, the blood, human sewage. They're in danger every single second that they have that sewage on their streets, every single second they don't disinfect, that they harbor these drug addicted facilities. Like, we can't have that. And that's what Democrats do every time they run a place, is they run it to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, because what they try to do is usually they run out businesses. Like Detroit, for example. What really happened in Detroit was all the automobile manufacturers were pushed out by city officials and even the state of Michigan. They were like, leave, because we're gonna increase your taxes. We're gonna make you pay more. And they're like, well, we'll just go to another state. And then Detroit became, in literally, like I think the joke is that, like, in a week, Detroit went from the biggest and most extravagant city in America to literally a ghost town.
Yeah.
Because all the workers left. Those who didn't were poor because they had no jobs. Literally not a single job.
Mm-hmm.
Buildings were abandoned in droves. Like, these are
it's
not
decrepit.
Yeah, they're not like houses were abandoned because entire families left. But not only
they
that,
had to.
but like skyscrapers and large warehouses were just flat abandoned. And then instead of going, oh, we made a big mistake, Detroit city officials were like, we didn't do it enough.
Yeah. And so they ran these businesses out, with tax increases. But here's my question. It's actually two questions. One, if you're going to tax the businesses to give to the unfortunate, how can you give to the unfortunate when there's no unfortunate left? Because you tax the businesses, and therefore, because the businesses move, the poor had to move. How are you supposed to give that money back to them? Two, if you can't run a city, how can you run a country?
I mean, yeah, and all of this goes towards Representative Cummings and Baltimore. Baltimore's starting to have a lot of problems. Like, my grandma was born just outside of Baltimore in the 1940s.
Really?
And every time she would go up to visit Baltimore, it was fine. She was like, it was a wonderful place. But then she said that it was around, I think she said the 60s or the 70s, she saw Baltimore start to teeter off. And
Really?
then now she refuses to admit that the place that she was born is even a place anymore sometimes. Yeah, I mean,
wow.
Because this isn't the first time Baltimore's even been brought up. There was a few years ago, remember, there was that really big riot in Baltimore where they literally burned, like, a good block or two of Baltimore to the ground.
Really?
Yeah, it was a Black Lives Matter protest.
Yes, I did hear about that.
Like, they were literally walking up streets, breaking into everything, and then they'd steal everything they wanted, and then they'd either completely ransack everything else, or they would burn it to the ground, depending on what it was.
Yep.
It was so bad the National Guard was threatened to be called in.
Yeah, but the mayor of Baltimore, there was this news report. Let me see if I can find it. I don't think I can anymore, but I definitely saw it somewhere. Well, she said that we give the protesters room to protest and the rioters room to riot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so you're basically surrendering because, free speech is so important. No, they're destroying your city.
Yeah, no, I remember, because I know what you're talking about. I called it basically, she thinks the purge is real.
Yeah.
She's like, we just give them this section and this amount of time, they'll be fine. They won't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And then right after that, they did it again.
Yeah, exactly. They did it again and again, because what do you know? If you give Jimmy a car to destroy and then you give Jimmy another car, I think he's going to do the same thing to the second car that he did the first car. It's like if unpunished behavior goes on.
Yeah, like it goes unchanged. Wow.
It's almost like we're humans.
It's almost,
and that's human nature.
It's almost like if you don't punish bad behavior, they're going to think it's acceptable behavior.
Yeah, it's kind of like those laws that everybody breaks that aren't enforced. If you don't enforce the law, what is the freaking law? I mean, so it needs enforcement. That's what the Baltimore mayor wasn't doing. Until it got so bad that you said, like the National Guard had to be called in. But if room to protest, come on. Like, I mean, I get it if it was a peaceful protest.
Yeah, it would be a lot different if literally all they were doing was signs or even like a get together or
like a march.
Even a march. Yeah, it doesn't just as soon as people have bats and they're ready to blow things up, and some people are making Molotovs. They flip cars.
You have a
jump on top of cars, use cones to break doors and windows. That's when you go, oh, that's the line, you've crossed it. No.
Yeah, you have a big problem. Well, I recall you saying back in the 70s and 80s was when Baltimore started to go downhill.
It could have been before that or after that. Again, I don't know.
But it definitely wasn't 2000. It started to go downhill way before then. Representative Cummings, he's been in power for decades.
He's been a representative for a long time.
Yeah, longer than we've been alive. And, you have to ask yourself, if he's the representative, if he can propose legislation on a federal level, so he has the big bank to his request, should it pass, he can pass a bill for Baltimore right now. And Baltimore can get federal aid, which is what it so desperately needs.
Yeah, I mean, he can even work with the city of Baltimore itself, because I've seen representatives do this before, is they work with a specific city especially if they're like him. And his district, while it covers slightly more than Baltimore, is basically only Baltimore. He can work with the city of Baltimore to go to the federal government and ask for either additional aid or specific types of aid.
Yeah, it's called pork barrel, where it's basically jobs and money sent to a district from a representative. It's called pork barreling. That's a technical term for it. And there's a bunch of technical terms that I'm sure we'll cover in the show, but that's just one of them that applies in this instance. Well, then you ask yourself, so Dylan, if Representative Cummings has been serving for decades, if he's been in this position of power, then why hasn't he done anything? Well, let's just get a clip here of what he actually has been doing.
When we hear about stories coming out from you and your agency that everything is pretty good and you're doing a great job, I guess you feel like you're doing a great job, right? Is that what you're saying?
We're doing our level best in a very challenging.
What does that mean? What does that mean when a child is sitting in their own feces, can't take a shower? Come on, man. What's that about? None of us would have our children in that position. They are human beings. It's not the deed that you do to a child, it's the memory. It's the memory. We are the United States of America. We are the greatest country in the world. We are the ones that can go anywhere in the world and save people. Make sure that they have diapers. Make sure that they have toothbrushes. Make sure that they're not laying around defecating in some silver paper. Come on, we're better than that. When we are dancing with the angels, these children will be dealing with the issues that have been presented to them.
So that clip, what do you think of that? You obviously see the Border Patrol and Cummings,
I mean, it's hard. It's kind of hard. I mean, he just he's basically saying exactly what every Democrat is, but it's just, I find it odd that he's sitting here complaining about a federal agency and not helping his own district.
Exactly.
He's like, you're giving them inhumane treatment, but the fact that I'm not helping those who are being treated like nothing in my own district.
Yeah, buddy, are you gonna help your own people that you actually have the real ability to help? Or are you just gonna stick to the talking points and bash the men and women of ICE that are doing their jobs, risking their lives every day to protect the southern border, and according to a bunch of reports that actually aren't treating the migrants badly as fake news tries to portray, as badly as the Democrats try to portray. It's just garbage. But no, let's just bash this guy instead of helping these people in Baltimore that so desperately need help in the United States, which, as he said in the clip, the greatest country in the world. Well, it's the greatest country in the world, but not under Cummings' leadership.
I don't understand it. It's an enigma. I think it's just because I'm A, not a politician, and B, I'm just not like people like Representative Cummings. I don't understand how you can wrap your head around and logistically say to yourself, what I'm doing is fine in my district, that's okay. Not helping them whatsoever, doing literally nothing. That's whatever, man. Whatever. But you're doing bad. What the heck, man? What the heck?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Trump has called him out for this because he's been bashing the people of ICE. Yeah, he's been bashing people of ICE, and he's called him out for this. And so everybody's called Trump racist because Representative Cummings happens to be black. I must really sound like Larry the Crowder now. He happens to be black, but that is not the reason we hate him.
I mean, no, it's seriously like he knew he was gonna lose on merit alone, so he was like, race card. It's 'cause I'm black, isn't it? And,
exactly.
And then like everyone with common sense is like, no, he didn't say anywhere in there about you being black.
Yeah.
He was like, everyone's going, I don't even see a mention of the color black. It's just literally not there.
Yeah, and they've tried to say that when Trump said rat infested, he actually meant
like the people of Baltimore.
Yeah, the people
instead
in
of the
Baltimore
literal
were
term
an
rat
infestation.
infested.
Yeah, instead of like the word before infested, which is just rat. So he's probably talking according to English about rats, but
Literally.
Literal
rats, like Master Splinter's people.
Yeah, Master Splinter's people. Okay.
Except unfortunately, those rats don't train turtles to be cool ninjas, but
Exactly. Yeah, like rats people. I mean, it just doesn't. Like I'm wasting my breath talking about this. And so are they, but they're Democrats, so it's justice for all.
And they will literally do it until they can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Because everyone tells them to shut up.
Yeah.
But then they'll do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, in other news, we have a safe third country agreement with Guatemala now. And we have a clip of Trump signing the agreement. Let's just go ahead and listen to it right now.
Well, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. I'm thrilled to be with a very important man in Guatemala, the Minister Enrique Degenhardt. We are doing a very important signing. It's a historic asylum or safe third agreement between our two countries. It's a very important event. We've long been working with Guatemala, and now we can do it the right way. It's going to be terrific for them and terrific for the United States.
So this agreement, a safe third country agreement, is basically an agreement with a foreign nation like Guatemala, where you have migrants coming up to your country, and you say, okay, you can't come to this country unless you have first applied for asylum in Guatemala, because Guatemala is a safe third country to go to, where you can have refugees and you can be safe from your home country, which is like your first country, the country that you travel through would be the second country, and of course the asylum country would be the third country, which in this case now can be Guatemala. I think we also have one with Canada, but I'm not completely certain. So how is this a good thing with Guatemala? What will this do with the southern border?
I mean, more than likely, it was signed for another. Basically, I think it was mainly signed for another reason, to prove that these people just want to come into America. They don't really want asylum. They just want to come to America, for example. And I mean, I feel like it was a smart idea, because now if there's a Guatemalan caravan that's all of a sudden like, hey, let us in, or a caravan from somewhere else like, hey, let us in, we can go. But Guatemala said they'll take you happily, and you were much closer to Guatemala.
Exactly.
So we'll go to Guatemala,
and then we can deal with you later. Which is what's happening. These migrants are coming across the U.S.-Mexico border, applying for asylum, when what they really want is to just get into the United States. Not all of them, of course. Some of them are legitimately needing asylum,
and others are basically what I would call useful tools. They're there to just boost numbers, but they're legitimately just like, oh, I want to go to America. It's just better.
Yeah. Now, this isn't all immigrants, but some of these people. Okay, this is humans we're talking about here. Humans are greedy. These migrants are coming through Mexico, and then coming up through Mexico to the United States, applying for asylum, totally playing our asylum system. Okay, even if because technically we have to let them in, but they're just coming through in droves and hordes, and you would think that World War III is happening in South America with how many are coming. It's completely bonkers. But with this third country agreement, we can now, as you said, we can slow it down.
We can basically point them to Guatemala and say,
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah, it's basically when you're driving, you have a detour. Okay, well now it's a big old detour to Guatemala. So that's what you need to know about that. Democratic primaries are the next episode. I'm gonna have Andrew back to talk about that, and I'm sure he's pretty excited about that. I'm really excited about it. Okay, like who will win in this race of clown cars? Okay, may the clowniest clown win. It's amazing.
Oh,
How
yeah.
many different ways can we offer free stuff and bankrupt America?
Oh yeah, no. Back to my earlier joke about NASCAR being the one true race.
Yeah.
This might have to be the most entertaining one, though.
Yes. Yep. May the most radical Democrat win. So I think that's where we are going to end it for this episode. Next episode, obviously, both Democratic primaries. One massive episode. You don't want to miss it, so please subscribe. 5-star ratings. I know they have those on Apple Podcasts. We're also on SoundCloud now. And Spotify as well. And all podcast providers across the App Store and Google Play Store. So please check us out on there. Tell your friends and family about us. And we appreciate you listening to us. Have a more perfect day.